Welcome to yet another episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, a series of conversations with CXOs and business leaders over chai or coffee, if that's your preference, brought to you by ET Edge, where we talk about their lives, hobbies, interests, and also touch upon various other topics. The urgency and pressure on business leaders as they navigate the COVID 19 pandemic has been immense. And right now, we are in the midst of the second wave. These business leaders have been constantly monitoring myriad ways to ensure that their respective companies stay on course in the new normal. The incredible demands placed on them makes us often wonder how they have time for family, hobbies, or any personal downtime. And let's not forget that they are mere mortals. This initiative by ETH is aimed to create a deeper connection with them and to get a sense of what business leaders of several prominent companies do when they are not in business mode. Today, it's my pleasure to host Deepak Ramchandra Bhosle, General Manager Systems at Asian Paints. Deepak, welcome to the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories.
Thank you, Ivan. It's really wonderful to be part of this series. I'm really looking forward to it. And I've seen the series of the past. It's really been energizing for me and also a lot to learn from those, from whatever I've seen.
Great, wonderful. So, Deepak, if I'm not mistaken, from the little research that I've done on you, you spent 2 years as a graduate engineering trainee at Larsen and Toubro, and your current stint with Asian Paints is 24 years plus, right?
That's right.
Okay, so then let me start by asking you, what does a typical day in your life currently look like, and could you take us through it?
Oh, sure. Uh, every day by nature is different, and so some part of my day is routine and or very predictable in that sense, and some part of it is a little unpredictable. And I guess that's the beauty of life, the unpredictability part of it. And my day typically starts at around 5:15 when I get up. I do with the normal course and then get ready to hit the tennis court. I have a great set of friends where we meet on the tennis court sharp at 6 every day and play really hard tennis for close to 1.5 hours, and it's good fun. It's a great start to the day because we have jokes, we exercise, and we also really warm up pretty well. Post that, I would be back having sumptuous breakfast, and then it's work time. I would go out planning my day, take a corner for myself, which is a nominated one in the house, get going with my daily routine. Work energizes me a lot and allows me to take newer challenges and impact a lot of lives in that sense. Once I'm done with my office, I would then walk down within my colony, either cycle or do some brisk walking or just chat with friends, followed by a family dinner. I insist everybody is on the table and we all are together when we're having our dinner. It's a time when we also catch up on how the day has been. And then post dinner, I would probably unwind a bit, look at social media, catch up on my Insta, talk to a few friends, and before retiring to bed, probably be grateful to God for having given me such a great day. And that's how my routine would be in the current scenario.
So if I were to use 3 words, busy, uh, I mean, very physical. I mean, I can see that you're into fitness. So I would say fitness is an integral part. It's a busy day and it's a day filled with gratitude at the end of it all. Wonderful.
That's right.
Great.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Yeah, but given that we are in the midst of the second wave, I know it's tapering. Has the work from home dynamic changed during this phase as compared to when we went into lockdown in March 2020? And if yes, how has it changed?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. The work from home in the first edition was ridden with a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity. I remember I was in a hotel in Mumbai and we got the news that we're shutting down offices and we need to be home, operate from home. And at that point, we really did not know how things are going to pan out. So there's a lot of this uncertainty and ambiguity, as I said. We're not sure how fast this wave one would subside. Wave one was largely about bringing in more certainty and sanity in both their professional zones and personal zones. And in a sense, it was a feeling like you're rebooting your entire life. It was you had to find a way to ride the situation. You had to keep your peace of mind. You had to keep your professional life going, and there are a lot of responsibilities as professionals to ensure that your organization doesn't suffer. So a lot of that would have happened in wave one. A large part of the Indian homes, especially people working in traditional brick and mortar companies, their homes are not designed for work from home. So that was another challenge, trying to create an office within your home and coexisting your personal life and our professional life. So that definitely was a challenge. I have two kids, both of them who got into online classes mode, and they also had to operate comfortably with me being around. So establishing that balance, finding that equilibrium took time. The phase between phase one and phase two was great because it allowed me to recalibrate and be far more prepared for phase two. In fact, I was regularly going to office in this gap between phase one and phase two, and I guess we were far more prepared for phase two. I guess humanity had so much learning in the last 18 months. I think now work from home is a well-established and well-oiled machinery in that sense, which is there to stay for years to come. Maybe in parts, and probably we're going to have more of such occasions where we'll need to fall back onto the work from home mode. At the moment, I think personally and professionally, I'm sort of settled with this way of working.
Okay, great. Let's rewind a little deeper. If you were to go back to the early years of your childhood, school, or later college, was there anybody who influenced you in those formative years? And what ambitions did you have then as a teenager?
Yeah. Just to give a little more background to myself, I've been fortunate to be born and brought up in a small town in Karnataka called Belgaum, and it had fantastic schools, fabulous opportunities to be in sports. And to top it all, it was like a mini India with people from various faiths, communities, all coexisting peacefully. So in my early years, I've been exposed to a lot of diverse experiences, and that has a huge influence on me in terms of values. And so one person who would have really stood out in terms of helping me or being my guiding light is my elder sister. And she was the one who always inspired me because she was the one who used to go and break the rules, try to create paths for newer opportunities. And at the same time, she was extremely enterprising. When I used to really admire her courage, her ambition, her willingness to succeed. And today she is in a extremely nice role, a strategic role in Switzerland, and she works for Nestle. And she's also won the Businesswoman of the Year a few years back. So I guess I've learned a lot from her, and she's been a guiding light throughout. And I guess your coming to ambitions, these ambitions keep changing. As a teenager, I wanted to become an engineer who would go out building bridges, massive roads, build cars, and so I became a mechanical engineer and joined India's largest engineering company, that is Larsen and Toubro. Then came the tech wave and the possibilities technology was throwing, and I guess I had to recalibrate my ambitions, and I said probably I had found my anchor in life and wanted to rebuild my entire self on in and around technology. I've been fortunate to work on cutting edge technologies for the last 2 decades, and I guess that's where I find my peace these days.
Wonderful. Great. Any fond memories from those young days?
Yeah, I remember I used to be, as a kid, I used to always want to excel in the class. I would be a first bencher in that sense of the word, and always wanted to do well. And I used to really work hard at it. I guess, I would have one of the high points I still remember, and I proudly said that I would have scored in my 10th standard. I was the only guy in the school who would have scored 100 out of 100 in maths. And when I went into my pre-university, it used to be called PUC, then pre-university courses, I went on to become the best boy in the whole university. While I was doing all this, I used to play a lot of racket sports, and badminton was my favorite game. And I did represent my school, and later went on to represent my university. And when I got into engineering, I had to move away from my hometown. I went towards Calcutta, towards Durgapur, and actually topping there in the very first year was really a big high for me from a career point of view. And yeah, there were a lot of these achievements which kept coming by, which really kept motivating me to do more.
Okay. Deepak, if I were to ask you, if you could bring about one key change in the world that we live in using technology, what would that be?
I think for me, I'm always fascinated by what technology could do education. So if you look at the way education is revolutionizing the way we go about our learning, I think there's huge scope. Technology reaching out to the remotest part of the country, allowing a poor farmer, say in Northeast, his kids actually getting access to the same quality of education and induction which a person in Mumbai would get, or the son of a laborer in interiors of Maharashtra being able to do a few vocational courses remotely and becoming self-equipped to take on to earn in life. I think we can bring a massive change using technology by just focusing on ensuring education reaches, it becomes omnipresent in that sense of the word.
Wonderful. Great. You know, our life, in our life, we have tough conversations all the time, be it with the family members with us, in the workplace, with peers, with our subordinates. Sometimes we have tough conversations. If I were to ask you, what has been the toughest conversation you've had to have with your CEO or managing director? What would that be, if you wish to share that with us?
Sure. I would not call them tough, but yeah, the conversations were such that they really push you to challenge yourself and to go to tap on your existing and inert potential. My CEO is a very passionate guy, just like me, and I echo that sentiment with him. He wants to do a lot of things which can add, which can take our businesses to the next level. Like we have launched ourselves into the entire space of home decor, and he wants technology to really be the key differentiator there. Now, and he wants this fast, and he wants this in times where no one has achieved in the world. And those are the conversations when we have not just very tough conversations, but they're also very energizing in that sense. He would throw up challenges like, can technology create, can a technology-based business generate additional revenues for the company? Or he throws up a challenge, Deepak, can you build the world's best visualizer for visualizing Indian homes? Now, these are great conversations to have. They really bring a lot of purpose in your job. They really create a reason for you to open your laptop every day and making you really making you raring to go to achieve some of these challenges which a CEO throws. So, and our CEO just doesn't throw up these challenges. He's also very keen on following up on where we stand versus the vision he would have created in these conversations. So I enjoy these tough conversations.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us, Deepak. If your company, you know, we're living in a pressurized world. If your company were to give you a 3-day break, paid holiday to rest and recuperate, what would you do in those 3 days?
Yeah, I guess many things are there in my bucket list, and I guess it might span more than 3 days. Like I would really want to go and do a lot of horse riding. Probably go to Panchgani and sign up with a few guys and their horses for the entire 10 days and say I would want to really learn horse riding, or probably get a certification there. Or I would just want to get into another passion which I have is in terms of becoming a tennis coach. If there's a way I can possibly get into, I've done a few parts of it online. I just want to get the physical part of it so that I become a professional coach. I do a lot of coin collection. Collect British India coins, silver coins, and wherever I go, wherever I travel, I make it a point to visit some of these dealers, some of the jewelers. So if I get 3 days, probably I'll just focus on only doing that and collect some of the rarest coins across. Now I also am part of a musical band, which we put up shows every day. So probably I might use those 3 days to just record and try to memorize and get some of a few tunes right, so that I'm ready for putting up the next show. I also do a lot of magic tricks for kids, especially on birthdays. Probably I'll learn a few more magic tricks. Some of the things which I really want to learn is learning golf, or creating course contents for on robotics for junior kids. I have left my oil painting classes halfway, so I would want to probably complete it. So the list is too long, Ivan. I guess there are too many
You'd
things.
require probably 30 days. They're not 3 days for that. But the
That's
sweetest
right.
part of that, the sweetest part was that about magic tricks for young kids and robotic led, innovations. I love that part. And yeah, I really wish that you can achieve all that you have in your bucket list. And I know from the little interaction that I've had with you that you will make that a reality.
Oh, thank you so much for the wish.
You're welcome. Okay. What we will do now is move into another segment. It's called the one word, one line answer. Deepak, I am going to throw some questions at you, fun questions, and give me an answer either in one word or in one line. If it's a line, I'll ask you to give me a word in one line. And yeah, just go for it. There are no wrong answers. There are only right answers, because all the answers are your answers. So shall we hit this segment?
Yeah, I am ready.
Okay. Favorite subject in school?
Maths.
Okay. Most hated subject in school?
Statistics.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Palak paneer.
Okay. Favorite holiday destination?
Belgaum.
Okay. Describe your journey thus far in 3 words.
Gratitude, fun, passion.
Nice. What is the one thing most people don't know about you?
A lot of people don't know that I have been on television, I've been on radio, and I'm also trying to see if I can get a break into some of these movies or OTTs.
Ah, wonderful. So there's a budding actor there,
Right.
somewhere deep down.
Yeah, I have a relative who is into production, and she's been asking me to give auditions. I said I have kept that part of my phase at some point. I'll try to see if I can squeeze out, like the 3 days which you gave me. Probably one of that I could use one of those days to just give an audition and see how good I'm at it.
Sure. Go for it. Okay. Choose one. Save or spend?
Save.
School friends, college friends, or work friends?
School friends, always.
Okay. Chocolate or pickle?
Pickle.
Okay. I should have known, coming from Karnataka.
Right.
It would have to be pickle. Music or movies?
Music.
Rain or sunshine?
Rain.
Mother or wife?
We play a lot in the rain. So when we're playing our tennis, it goes on in the rain.
Right. Yeah. Mother or wife?
No comments.
This is a tough one.
No comments.
No comments. Come on, Deepak. You are a guy who takes huge decisions in the corporate space. Sometimes decisions worth crores. Technology that can serve Asian Paints. This should not be very difficult.
At the moment, I'm more worried about maintaining the peace of the house and getting my dinner the evening. So I would say no comments.
So pass. This one is pass.
Pass.
Okay, pass. Great. Okay. Would you rather give up salt or give up sugar?
I would give up sugar.
Okay. Be a celebrity or be a regular person?
I would love to be a celebrity.
Okay. If you were to be stuck in a room for 24 hours, who would you choose to be stuck with? And I'm giving you three options: Warren Buffett, Pele, the footballer, or Sri Ravi Shankar.
I would want to be with Warren Buffett because the stage which I'm in, I really need to do some good financial planning because I've really been focusing on everything except for financial planning in my life.
Right. And he's the best person to get advice from. Great. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Would you choose to live in a peaceful dictatorship or a chaotic democracy?
A chaotic democracy.
If you could be a kitchen appliance, what one would you be and why?
I would love to be a oven because a lot of stuff goes into it, and the type of possibilities which are possible in terms of what you can do in the oven are tremendous. So I would love to be that oven.
Fantastic. Great. Fantastic. If you had to delete all apps but three from your smartphone, which three would you keep?
At the moment, I would keep WhatsApp. I would keep the Office Outlook mail, and I would keep an internet browser.
Great, great, super. Which three people, living or dead, would you like to have a cutting chai conversation with, where you're the host?
I would really want to have a chat with. You said living, right? Or it could be
Living or
dead as
dead
well.
or fictional,
Oh,
anybody.
I would really want to have a chat with, say, Gautam Buddha. I really want to understand how he brings so much of peace and sanity to his life. Uh, I really want to have a chat with Mahatma Gandhi in terms of how he could make a declaration that India will get freedom through non-violence, and actually lived up to it and got India free. And when the
Right,
whole world never believed that
right.
non-violence would take you anywhere. So that's a very inspiring thing. And the third one would be I would really want to chat with probably Amitabh Bachchan because
Okay,
he's the one who is always kept reinventing himself
sure,
and he remains relevant all the time. So I just really want to understand how he does that.
sure, sure. Great, super, great choice. Last question in this segment. Life is incomplete without, fill in the blanks. Life is incomplete without,
Oxygen.
okay. So relevant in these times also. I mean, if pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. I have one final question for you before we wind up this conversation. What is one thing you would do if you were the IT head of India?
Yeah. So if you look at any IT head of a normal organization, his job is to use technology to further the growth interest of his company, skill the employees, or protect the perimeters of the this. When it comes to India, and it's a big honor to be the CIO of India. I would have similar objectives of ensuring the growth of our country, protect the boundaries in terms of ensuring we are not threatened by any security attacks. And third, on going about skilling India in terms of preparing them for the next wave, which will allow us to become a superpower. So I'll use whatever technologies or framework which is required to invest my money in these areas. One is to sustain the businesses which are going on. I would also have a certain budget which is dedicated only to running innovation. So that puts us really on the frontiers of being a superpower. And also quite some of my budgets would get into how do I make India as a cyber security leader or the cyber security hub which because cyber security is going to be the type of damage cyber attack could cause to a country is going to be far higher than what a nuclear bomb also would have caused. So can we build India as a powerhouse of cyber security, which will allow us to establish diplomatic relationships with other countries and really be a force to reckon with?
Great. Wonderful note to end this conversation with. Deepak, I enjoyed listening to you. I enjoyed having a conversation with you. We wish you and Asian Paints the very best going forward. Thank you for all your answers. They were very honest and straight from the heart.